Monday, March 4th, 2024, and the Supreme Court has decided that no individual state can keep a presidential candidate off their ballot by using the 14th Amendment sort of insurrectionist clause as a reason to deny them. Which honestly, um, the way it's handed down, it's the right answer. I don't think um, anybody should be left off of a primary ballot, um, but uh, this was a hot topic on the View, and it does sort of open up the floodgates to saying, okay, um, each state can cherry pick who they can and cannot, who they will and will not have on a ballot, which of course the GOP would weaponize immediately. So, in that sense, it's correct. But at the same time, when does the 14th Amendment apply? The court says it's an act of Congress by a two-thirds majority. So that'll never happen in the current political divide between red and blue. It's just so very little bipartisanship, and this ruling isn't a surprise to anybody, I don't think. But to whoever's point said it on today's show, it does prove that the court can hear an oral argument and make a decision within a month. The the next case about Trump's presidential immunity should be on the ballot to be heard sooner. But if the arguments are April 22nd, then there should be a ruling before Memorial Day. We'll see. I have a feeling they're going to slow roll that to try to help him, which fucking sucks. And none of this would be happening if the Senate hadn't acquitted him in both of his impeachment trials, which is a damn shame. But we're going through all of this discussion and nail biting about the election in November, which it is very nerve wracking. But it's interesting. For the last 2 weeks, the Republican-controlled House has not been able to pass a funding bill. We are still regularly coming up against like the next day deadline of we may have to shut the government down or parts of the government down. We went through it last week. They did a 1 week extension. We have to do another vote this week just to fucking fund the government. This is just the standard practice and part of their job, and they can't even fucking do that. And I don't know why that isn't a bigger news story. The Republicans have the majority in the House, yet they still cannot actually pass an annual funding bill. And they're not serious people. These people do not want to govern, and it needs to be the voting public needs to be reminded of it every fucking day. The GOP is not serious. They are not a political party interested in governing. But who knows? Tomorrow's Super Tuesday. Nikki Haley won the DC primary over the weekend by 2-1 margin, I think. But there's 2,000 votes or something dumb. Victory. Feather in her victory cap there. And of course, Trump walked it back and said, well, we didn't even try there because that's just the swamp and that's what we're trying to drain. The swamp isn't the citizens of DC. It's the politicians that you actually employ. Speaking of swamps, his CFO, I think, of the Trump Organization has now pled guilty to perjury because he lied in the fraud case. All the best people